Hey, Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. We're ready to relive the weekend in Southeastern Conference football with our friends at Cowin Equipment. We're fired up for another year. Before we look back, though, let me remind you, our friends at Cowin Equipment would love the opportunity to partner with your company for your heavy equipment needs. Visit Cowin.com to find out more about how Cowin can be your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to great service and parts. Check out Cowin Equipment's rental fleet hit list for a wide range of well-maintained equipment from their rental fleet for sale right now. Go to the website, Cowin.com, Cowin.com. Now let's talk a little football. And of course, we start with Alabama, number 3 in the country, losing to Tennessee. Your biggest takeaway from that game? You were in Knoxville. What was it?
Hendon Hooker's a man. I mean, look, I know that Hyatt had the numbers, but and everybody's talking about him today. But Hendon Hooker, I said, if Tennessee was able to win this game, one of the big narratives is going to be Hendon Hooker is your Heisman favorite. He's not there yet, but he's close.
Yeah, I think he needs to be definitely in the discussion. It's funny, he wasn't the best quarterback in the game, but when you win the game, you get all the attention. I mean, the Bryce Young effort was heroic, but Hooker was phenomenal as well. And I would vote him for the Heisman right now, Lance. If I still had my vote and we had to vote after week 7, I'd vote Hendon Hooker for the Heisman.
I would too. I think right now he's playing the best football out there. And I tell you, National Coach of the Year, there's a lot of candidates right now.
Yeah.
Brett Bielema's got to be one of those guys, and Dino Babers. But Josh Heupel, man, the way he's turned this thing around, and it was an unwatchable offense 2 years ago.
It really was.
It was, and our show's not alone, but when Danny White hired Josh Heupel, we all thought, at least I did, but I think I remember you guys thinking the same thing. The guy has made UCF a little less good.
Yeah, they were on a decline.
Yeah. And it felt like Danny didn't get maybe who he wanted and hired a comfort hire in Heupel because they were together at UCF. It felt like that, and it's anything but that.
Well, that's not how it's turned out. And I 100% said that. I was very critical of this hire, and I probably have never been more wrong in my career at this point. I mean, it's hard to imagine I could be more wrong than what I was about that.
My biggest swing and miss was Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes, yes.
Yeah, but I think this might be yours.
During the week, I don't know that I downplayed it, but I certainly didn't recognize it and felt it and knew it from the moment that I've gotten here. Tonight, obviously, was for our players, but it's for our former players. It's for our donors. It's for our fans. I know how much this has meant to the people of Tennessee and Ball Nation, and so excited that we were able to come out with a win.
And then there were some pass interference calls that seemed to have made it into the timelines and conversations. And Nick Saban gets asked about that. I think it was Branch over the middle one, which is the one I had the biggest question about. We talked to Will Lowry, former Alabama player, post-game. What did Will say about the one in the end zone?
He was okay with the Malachi Moore call at the end. Yeah, I mean, Will was, and Will played defensive back at Alabama. He's like, look, I'd love to sit here and tell you it wasn't pass interference. He said, but I was okay with the call.
Yeah, because he wrapped him. And
yeah, I mean, he had the arm around, and generally in college, arm around the back and turn is what you're looking for. But he had the arm around and just kind of swiped. I didn't think he got anything on the swipe. Again, Will played the position and played it at Alabama and was very frustrated about the outcome of the game. But he said, going back and watching that, he said, I got to tell you, I think it was pass interference.
Yeah, it looked like enough contact.
Yeah. So, but Nick Saban was asked about pass interference calls in general, that particular one, because it was an interception and a field flipper and a game flipper, actually, if the call stands up. And he had this to say after the contest.
You know, I thought the guy made a good swat on the ball, and we intercepted a tip ball. And, you know, we had another one on 3rd and 6. Guy had good coverage on a guy. So, I don't know. I think, you know, pass interference is one of the most controversial calls in college football, you know, right now. And, you know, I've talked about it before, but just inconsistency in how it gets called, not just on those calls, but in all calls. And, you know, officials do the best they can. And I'm not making any negative comments about what they called.
No, he's right, though. I mean, it does get called different crew to crew, but you just got to adjust to that. I don't know how you do it, but you got to, because that's the way the game is called.
Final possession for Alabama. You and I talked about this a little bit.
Yes.
You get it down to the 32.
1st and 10 at the 32.
And you throw 3 consecutive incomplete passes. Now, Gibbs had a drop. But if you trust your kicker, you're running the football there, right?
Well, you want to either let Tennessee let you burn up all the time or force Tennessee to use their timeouts. I mean, one of those two.
I thought that was going to be the obvious play.
Yeah. The one, look, I mean, you're putting it in Bryce Young's hands. He's the best player on the field for you. I mean, he and Gibbs are the 2 best players on offense. So you want them touching the ball, and he tried to get it to Gibbs on 2nd down. The one I thought was strange is it appeared on 1st down. It was like, look, if the guy's open, if not, throw it out of bounds. You had a timeout there. You picked up the 1st down. I know the clock stops, but you got 2 timeouts. You're going to want to save one potentially for the kick. I get all that if you run it. But I didn't have, why not just call timeout there on 1st down and let's think this through, right? I mean, we've got the game. At that point, if you're Alabama, you've got the game in control. You're controlling the clock. You're controlling possession. You're controlling the scoreboard. You've got everything in control.
And it seems like you at least want to expire them of all their timeouts.
At bare minimum, don't leave them any timeouts. And you'd really like to kick it with as little time on the clock as possible because I don't know if you noticed this, but your defense is getting no stops in this game.
And that's the thing is you've got to, worst case, miss a field goal with no time left.
Yeah.
And take it to overtime.
Like, Bill O'Brien's getting a lot of criticism. I think that's just natural as you're not going to criticize Nick Saban. I mean, the guy's the best that's ever done it. Maybe a little criticism. I don't know what you kill O'Brien for other than maybe that final possession. I mean, what else did he do wrong?
Oh, he only scored 49 points.
I mean, and he needed every one of them.
And if Gibbs makes that catch, we're probably not having this discussion.
I mean, if Gibbs makes that catch, I haven't seen a full 22. There's a chance he scores as good as he is in the open field, number one. Number two, he's taken 20 yards off the field goal, bare minimum.
Worst case, it's a chip shot to win.
And it's another set of downs. Yeah. So now you really control everything. Now they have to use timeouts, and you can bleed it down to 3 seconds for the kick. I will be stunned if you don't say Alabama and Atlanta, to JD's point. That was the point I was making there. Not really the argument about who's got the easier road, but I'll be stunned if you don't see them in Atlanta.
Yeah, I would love to see an Alabama-Tennessee rematch in Atlanta.
I think a lot of people would.
I would too. I think it'd be fun. I don't know. I'm interested to see what they can do in Athens. They'll get Tillman back. It's the type of offense that gave Kirby fits when he was at Alabama, not just Nick Saban.
But Georgia will still be like Alabama. Hey, Georgia might be a 10-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, because it's in Athens. Yeah.
Georgia, number 1 in the country still, 55-0 over Vandy. Stetson, 289, 2 touchdowns in that one. In that Kentucky game you guys were talking about, Chris Rodriguez returns. 196 running the football. Mississippi State didn't have the ball a lot, but when they did, a disastrous offensive performance for Will Rogers and Mike Leach. It's the second time this year, second half LSU, and now this game in Lexington. And by the way, both of those road games, like they face this week against Alabama, and both of those against, to me, less than defenses than what you're going to get with Alabama, despite Alabama just giving up 52.
I mean, I was ready to say Mississippi State was the second best team in the West.
Yep.
And now I have no idea what the pecking order is. I don't know if it's even Arkansas with multiple losses.
I think right now you got to go Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, because they are undefeated. But, Kentucky are so different with Rodriguez in that lineup. Because Will Levis, to me, still, if you're talking about the number 1 overall pick, or not number 1 overall pick, but going in the first round, back to Hendon Hooker. How's Hendon Hooker not a first-round guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Well, I called that a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'd rather have Hooker than Levis, and I think you agreed with me.
Oh, yeah.
And after watching, he doesn't really do it traditionally with his legs. Most people think, a dual-threat quarterback. He doesn't even run with power. Remember how Cam would run?
Yeah, who Hooker? We're talking about here?
Hooker doesn't run with power. Cam used to run and would run over people. Bryce doesn't run with power, and Bryce doesn't look to run first ever. It's almost like the last resort when Bryce is running. Hooker is a reluctant runner.
Yeah.
He does it effectively, but when he gets to the point, he's either going down or starting to fall back from the hit. He's not a power runner.
Hooker's got a little Deshaun Watson in him. I see a little Deshaun Watson with Hendon Hooker.
I could see that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you like the way Deshaun Watson plays, Hooker would be when he's on the field. Hooker would be great for your franchise. Yeah. Real quick, did you see time of possession in that game? Tennessee, Mississippi State. This is what happens.
Kentucky, Mississippi State.
Excuse me, Kentucky, Mississippi State. When the air raid goes bad, this is what happens.
Well, I can only imagine, just because I'll throw this number and then you tell us. Kentucky 239 on the ground.
That's right.
Mississippi State 22.
That's right. 40-20.
Wow.
40-20.
Technically, it was 39 and some change to 20 and some change. 40 minutes to 20 minutes time of possession. It's going to be hard to win a game on the road when you've let the other team have the ball that long.
This is from ABC 3340. It's down at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club here in Birmingham. And this has been a tradition dating back to the 1939, this quarterback club. And for years and years and years, the Auburn and Alabama head coaches always appear. It's a great charitable organization, and they love to give back to this organization. So on the bye week, Auburn head coach Brian Hartson, his only media availability this week was down at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club. ABC 3340 was there, but this is Rick Carley asking the question of Brian Hartson about his job situation.
How have you shut out the clutter on your job status? It's all over the internet, everywhere you look. How are you dealing with it?
It's not everywhere I look. I mean, that's number one. Yeah, that's not where I go. I mean, I really, I've said it before. I mean, I go back, and it doesn't matter where I've been and what I've done. I always focus on the job I have to do and control the controllables. And I learned that a long time ago, and I don't know, that's just something that I'm very grateful for, that I learned that as a young coach, just to focus on the task at hand and to have the discipline to do that. And to me, that's what I think everybody should do. I think when you get caught up in things that are out of your control, it doesn't matter what you do. We're talking football. I think that's going to be a disaster for anybody. I got confidence in our staff and our players and what we're doing, and they got to do the same things, keep controlling what we can. That's all that matters.
I mean, you can say whatever you want to say, and Brown, you brought this up in the post-game show this past weekend. You can't say they quit on him, because they haven't. They played their ass off.
Oh, they were down 21-0. I mean, they could easily have tapped out.
21-0 and lifeless.
Yeah.
And it changed quarterbacks. 21-0, lifeless, or no, it was 14-0 when we went to TJ Finley. Quickly fumbled, then it's 21-0. That team should have shut it down right there. I was surprised Lance they actually came back and made it a game.
If I would have told you guys they're going in, Tank is going to go 179, 2 touchdowns, Auburn wins the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you'd have told me that.
Typically in that situation.
Yeah.
Now they don't win the game. They lose by double digits again, and now Brian Harsin's 9-11.
It's the weirdest thing. They finally scored in the second half. They finally, second quarter, third quarter, they actually played really good offense. Not just they played offense, they played pretty good offense. And their defense lets them down. They cannot get it right at the same time.
AU Clay, the Auburn offense is getting better. Steve says, I think the quarterback change actually sparked Ashford.
It did not look like it did. I know you guys were in Knoxville. He was on the bench, and his body language was awful. And Ronnie Brown from the radio broadcast walked up and put his arm around him and talked to him. It was brief. You just saw it in a shot on the sideline. And I don't know that Ronnie said something. I don't know what happened, but when he came back in, Ashford was a different quarterback. But his body language when he got pulled, it looked like he was done for the day. I thought it was going to be Finley's game the rest of the day.
He did, as Lunsford's pointing out, got caught on camera slamming down the phone.
He was
talking
pissed
upstairs to the coaches in the booth.
But I want him to be pissed. Don't you want him to be pissed that he's getting benched?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're having a hard time finding that new plastic on the seat piece of heavy equipment, check out Cowin Equipment's rental fleet hit list for a wide range of well-maintained equipment from their rental fleet. For sale now, visit cowin.com/featured used equipment or call 800-239-COWIN for more information.